So, when a German Shorthaired Pointer hits its senior years, the absolute most dangerous thing you can do is, well, let them keep acting like a German Shorthaired Pointer.
Yeah, that is so true. It's a recipe for disaster.
Right. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Today, we're pulling apart this really fascinating set of veterinary notes and some breed-specific research to understand what happens when that iconic blur of motion finally starts to, slow down.
Yeah, it does slow down eventually.
It does. And our mission for you, the listener, is to really map out this transition of the GSP into its senior years. We need to understand that caring for this high-octane breed isn't about treating the dog as, finished. The dog isn't over.
Yeah.
The rhythm of their life is just changing.
Exactly. And that changing rhythm requires a total shift in how we manage their day-to-day existence.
Right.
Because if we look at the research, the framework for managing an aging working breed starts with this concept called the baseline. And, well, the biggest mistake owners make is evaluating their older GSP against some generic, abstract idea of an old dog.
Oh, I see. Like just comparing them to any old dog out there.
Yeah, exactly. You can't compare a 10-year-old bird dog to, say, a 10-year-old bulldog. You really have to compare your dog to their own normal behavior from just, 12 to 18 months ago.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I was reading through these sources, and the analogy that kept jumping out to me was a retired professional athlete.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Right. So if you have a pro soccer player or a marathon runner who hits their late 30s, their physical output naturally drops. But if you take away their sport entirely and just, put them on a couch, they don't just lose their fitness.
No, they lose their whole sense of purpose.
Exactly. They experience this massive drop in endorphins. They basically go through a neurochemical withdrawal, which often leads to severe depression. And our aging GSPs still need that dopamine hit.
They absolutely do.
They still need purpose, movement, and scent work. We just have to deliver it in a way that doesn't totally destroy their aging joints.
Yeah, the endorphin withdrawal is a very real physiological phenomenon in working breeds. To help them navigate that, we rely on establishing that new baseline we just mentioned.
Getting that point of reference.
We have to track the specific data points of their daily routine, like how did they rise from their bed last year compared to today? Or what was their recovery time after a 2-mile hike 6 months ago versus yesterday?
It's all about those small changes.
Exactly. Small changes in a senior GSP aren't important because they're catastrophic right away. They're important because they are new.
And I think the most obvious place that new information presents itself is in their mobility, like how they move through physical space.
Yes, the everyday movements.
The sources point out these really subtle tells, right? The stiffness after a nap, a shortened stride on their morning walk, or, a sudden weird hesitation before they jump into the back of the SUV.
Something they used to do without even thinking.
Yeah, an obstacle they used to clear with a foot of air to spare. But here's where it gets really interesting and honestly, incredibly risky for GSP owners. This breed's legendary drive can completely trick you.
Oh, it will absolutely trick you.
Because they don't just stop moving the second a joint hurts, do they?
No, they don't. They are biologically hardwired to push through. A GSP in the field is flooded with adrenaline and cortisol.
And those act as natural painkillers, right?
Exactly. Their pure enthusiasm masks the degradation of their joints. They'll run on a deteriorating hip because the neurological thrill of the environment just completely overrides the pain signals in the moment.
Okay, wait, I need to stop you there. Because this kind of contradicts the golden rule every dog owner is taught.
Which is?
A tired dog is a happy dog.
Ah, yes. That old saying.
Right. So if the GSP still desperately wants to run for 5 miles, and they seem incredibly happy doing it, why are we acting as the fun police?
Well, basically because the adrenaline wears off. Adapted exercise is about helping the old athlete keep itself, not prove itself.
Oh, I like that. Keep itself, not prove itself.
Yeah. If you let a senior GSP prove themselves on a 5-mile run, you are borrowing against tomorrow's comfort at a terrible interest rate.
Ouch. Yeah.
Because the mechanism of aging joints involves the thinning of cartilage and a decrease in synovial fluid. So when they overexert, the resulting inflammation doesn't just cause a little soreness, it actively accelerates the destruction of the joint tissue.
Wow. So the ultimate test of whether you've successfully adapted their exercise routine isn't how the dog acts while you're actually out at the park.
No, not at all.
It's the next day. If the dog is noticeably stiffer, reluctant to rise, or limping the morning after an outing, that is immediate health information indicating you overdid it.
You have to listen to what their body is saying the morning after.
So you have to act as their brakes, You shorten the walk, you seek out softer terrain like dirt trails instead of asphalt, and you implement a much slower warm-up before you unclip the leash.
And you mandate a real cool-down period, too.
Right. But putting on the brakes creates a secondary problem, doesn't it? If we intentionally limit their physical output to protect that thinning cartilage, we have to redirect their drive somewhere else.
Or they will absolutely tear the house apart from pure frustration.
Exactly. So we have to pivot from their aging legs to their unimpaired superpower, which is, of course, the nose.
The nose is incredible.
The source material highlights this beautifully. It notes that when the senior GSP can't cover the field the same way, the nose can still give the field back to the dog.
It really is their way of experiencing the world.
And the biology behind this is staggering. A dog's olfactory bulb is proportionally 40 times larger than a human's. When a GSP is intensely sniffing, they are essentially doing high-level calculus.
Yeah, and it's not just mental work. The physical act of sniffing is a cardiovascular event for a dog.
Right, because they're actively rerouting air through these complex bony structures in their snout called turbinates. It spikes their heart rate and drains a massive amount of caloric energy.
It's exhausting for them in the best way possible.
So a 20-minute sniff walk, where you literally just let them dictate the pace and process every single blade of grass, that tires their brain in the exact same way a 3-mile run used to tire their legs.
Exactly. You're giving them the mental exhaustion they crave without asking their knees to lug the heavy weights.
The notes also recommend hiding treats around the yard or using complex puzzle feeders for every meal to force that brain engagement.
And what's really fascinating here is how often owners overlook these low-impact scent activities in favor of another heavily promoted alternative.
Let me guess. Swimming.
Yes, swimming. It's constantly touted as the holy grail of zero-impact exercise for senior dogs. But the veterinary notes we're reviewing caution that it is definitely not an automatic green light for every senior GSP.
That's surprising. I mean, the buoyancy of the water takes the weight off the joints, right?
It does, but the actual biomechanics of swimming can be incredibly taxing.
So it's not just a relaxing float in the pool.
Not at all. It is intense cardiovascular work. But honestly, the hidden dangers usually lie at the edges of the water.
What do you mean?
Consider the transition points. Clambering up a steep, muddy riverbank, or violently hoisting their entire body weight out of a swimming pool, that often puts an acute, dangerous, sheer force on their shoulders and hips.
Oh, wow. I never thought about getting out of the water.
Right. It's far more strain than a flat walk would have caused. Furthermore, you have to monitor the water temperature closely. A cold lake can seize up arthritic joints within minutes.
That thermoregulation risk points to a much deeper physiological shift happening under the surface, doesn't it?
It really does.
We're modifying how they exert energy, but the notes make it clear we also have to monitor how their body composition is changing. And the math on their weight is pretty brutal.
It's unforgiving, for sure.
As their activity naturally decreases, if you keep feeding them the exact same high-protein, high-calorie diet they got during their prime running years, they're going to gain fat.
It's unavoidable.
And for a GSP, carrying extra weight isn't cosmetic. It acts like a weighted vest, actively crushing those inflamed joints.
But the truly deceptive part of this transition is the muscle wasting.
Right, because the scale might not actually change.
Exactly. You might take your senior dog to the vet, they step on the scale, and the number is exactly the same as it was 2 years ago. So the owner naturally assumes everything is holding steady.
But it's an illusion. I like to think of it like structurally replacing a home's dense wooden support beams with styrofoam.
That's a terrifying but accurate visual.
From the street, the house looks exactly the same. The overall weight might even be similar. But the structural integrity is completely compromised. They are losing dense muscle mass, particularly in their hindquarters, and that mass is being replaced by fat.
And like you said, the scale entirely hides the transition.
So how do we catch it?
Well, because the German Shorthaired Pointer has such a short, tight coat, it is visually easier to spot this muscle wasting around the shoulders or along the spine compared to a fluffy breed.
That's a small bonus.
It is, but the text emphasizes that visual observation isn't enough. Owners must physically run their hands over the dog on a weekly basis.
Like a physical check-in.
Yes. You have to know their body tactilely to catch the loss early. You're feeling for new lumps or areas where they suddenly flinch when touched.
So what does this all mean for the little things we tend to just normalize? For instance, bad breath.
Oh, bad breath is a big one.
I feel like society has just accepted old dog breath as this biological inevitability, or like An older dog shivering a bit on a chilly autumn morning.
Here.
Tend to shrug those off.
Normalizing those changes is dangerous. I mean, old dog breath is very rarely just a cosmetic annoyance. It is a glaring red flag for periodontal disease.
Really, a glaring red flag.
Absolutely, and dental pain radically diminishes a dog's quality of life. Plus, the bacteria from rotting teeth actually enters the bloodstream, putting massive strain on their aging heart and kidneys.
Wow, so it's a systemic issue.
It is. The sources urge us to look for the behavioral outputs of that pain. Like, are they suddenly dropping kibble out of their mouth while eating? Are they meticulously chewing on only one side of their jaw?
Or maybe they've abandoned their favorite hard chew toy.
Exactly. If it hurts to chew, they will simply stop eating. It's not a loss of appetite, it's a localized pain response.
And getting back to the shivering that directly ties into the muscle loss we just discussed.
Yes. The GSP physiology is built for heat dissipation when running, not for insulation. They have a single short coat.
So they don't hold heat well.
Right, and as they lose that dense, warming muscle mass, their internal thermostat essentially breaks. Their cold tolerance just plummets.
So the weather literally becomes part of their medical chart.
It really does.
An owner has to step in and artificially regulate their temperature. That means buying heavy coats for winter walks, actively drying them with a towel the second they get wet, providing heated orthopedic bedding.
And on the flip side, dealing with the heat.
Right? Significantly shortening outings in the summer heat, because their cardiovascular system can no longer handle the panting required to cool down.
So the physical pain of aching joints, the dental disease, the inability to stay warm, these inputs do not stay contained in the body. They actually alter the brain's output.
Which brings us to a concept in the notes that completely changed how I view older dogs.
It's a profound shift.
The idea that nighttime is when the senior dog tells the truth about comfort. During the day, there are delivery drivers, kids playing, squirrels to watch all these distractions that keep their adrenaline up.
They're occupied.
But when the sun goes down, the house goes dark and quiet. The sensory distractions vanish, and suddenly they are trapped with the reality of their own failing body.
Nighttime restlessness is a critical metric. If your senior GSP is pacing the hallways at 2 a.m., panting heavily while lying in a cool room, or constantly repositioning themselves, those are acute signs of physical pain.
Or digestive distress, or cognitive anxiety, right?
Yes. It requires veterinary intervention, not just, buying a white noise machine so you can sleep through their pacing.
I really want to focus on this idea of misinterpreting behavior, because it is so easy to project human emotions onto our dogs.
All the time.
Say you're at the park, you call your dog, and they just stand there looking the opposite direction. The immediate human reaction is, he's just being stubborn. He's an old, grumpy dog, and he knows exactly what come means.
We assume defiance when we should be assuming deficit. The reality, the research points out, is that the dog's auditory processing is likely failing.
So they literally just didn't hear you.
Exactly. They literally did not hear the command. Or if you walk into a room and reach out to pet them and they violently flinch or snap at the air, they aren't suddenly developing an aggressive attitude.
Their vision is failing.
Right. Their depth perception is eroding. The world is getting blurrier and quieter, which puts them in a constant state of low-level vulnerability.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the absolute golden rule of senior dog care laid out in these sources is this: behavior, is health information.
That is the core takeaway.
If your dog is showing new confusion, if they are suddenly incredibly clingy, or if they have zero patience for the loud toddler they used to play with, do not write it off as a personality change.
Irritability is almost always a shield for physical vulnerability. They feel fragile, so they act defensive to keep chaos away from their aching body.
And our response to that vulnerability dictates their quality of life. We have to adapt our behavior to meet their new reality.
We do. We approach them from the front so they can see us coming. We implement consistent hand signals alongside our verbal commands, utilizing their remaining vision to compensate for their fading hearing.
And most importantly, we mandate extreme predictability in their environment.
Yes. You do not rearrange the living room furniture every month when your dog relies on a mental map to navigate the house.
We have to curate their physical world to remove friction. The sources detail modifications that are brilliantly simple, but honestly life-changing for a GSP.
Like area rugs.
Exactly, area rugs. A German Shorthaired Pointer has a naturally high center of gravity and an instinct to launch themselves towards stimuli.
Always ready to go.
But when their hind end muscle mass deteriorates, slippery hardwood floors become a daily hazard. Throwing down a few cheap runner rugs gives them the traction they need to stand up without their back legs splaying out and tearing a ligament.
We also utilize car ramps to eliminate the sheer force of jumping. And we place small nightlights near their water bowls, so their failing rods and cones can still guide them to hydration at night without anxiety.
The notes strongly recommend centralizing all this new data. They mention tools like the Vital Pet app to meticulously track weight fluctuations, appetite changes, mobility dips, and medication schedules.
Because when you see your dog every single day, human memory is just flawed.
It really is. A slow decline is invisible to the naked eye. You need the data to show you the trend line so you can determine if today is genuinely a good day or a bad day.
And that data collection forces us to confront a very difficult philosophical question regarding their quality of life.
Yeah. How do we define a good life for a dog that used to run for hours but can now barely walk around the block?
It's tough, but the source material provides a stunningly clear answer. Quality of life is built entirely in the present tense.
The present tense.
Yes. It is built from a slow sniff around the perimeter of the yard, the digestion of a good meal without dental pain, and the quiet connection of resting their chin on your knee.
So it is emphatically not built from the memory of what the dog used to be.
Right. The dog does not have the ego to mourn their past athleticism. They don't lie awake wishing they were 3 years old again.
They only know how they feel right now.
Exactly. They only know how they feel in this exact minute. If their pain is managed and they are engaged with their environment, they have a high quality of life. However, the literature draws a very sharp distinction between managing this slow decline and ignoring a crisis.
Right. There's a massive difference between slow, graceful aging and an emergency.
Slow rises from a nap, a gray muzzle, and a shorter walk that's old age. Sudden collapse, the absolute inability to stand up, acute breathing difficulty, repeated vomiting, or profound sudden disorientation. These are not old age.
Those are immediate indicators of systemic failure.
Yes, and they require an emergency veterinary visit. You do not wait those symptoms out.
So, to summarize the roadmap we've explored for you today, guiding a German Shorthaired Pointer into its senior years means fundamentally shifting your perspective.
It's a complete paradigm shift.
It's replacing the 5-mile run with the intense calculus of scent work. It's understanding the biomechanics of their muscle loss and artificially regulating their body temperature.
And it's recognizing that stubbornness is usually blindness or deafness.
Yeah, and that throwing a rug over a hardwood floor might be the most profound act of care you can offer.
It is a phase of life that demands an entirely new level of empathy. And, this raises an important question, and a final thought I'd like to leave you with to mull over as we conclude.
Let's hear it.
We are advised by veterinary science to meticulously track the baseline changes, the sleep disruptions, and the subtle mobility shifts of our aging dogs. We remove physical obstacles from their path, we completely adjust our expectations of their output, and we offer them total, unconditional grace when their bodies inevitably slow down.
We basically restructure our entire lives to keep them comfortable.
Exactly. So if we applied that exact same level of daily, non-judgmental tracking, environmental adjustment, and pure grace to our own aging bodies and minds, how much more peacefully might we navigate our own human senior years?
Wow. We afford our dogs a dignity in aging that we rarely give ourselves. That is a brilliant way to frame it.
It really puts things in perspective.
It does. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the senior GSP. Remember, the athlete isn't finished. They just need you to help them learn the rules of a new game. Stay curious, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.